Do you suffer from back issues related to golf? This isn't some cheesy commercial or car salesman pitch to promise you a revolutionized golf game in 30 minutes. Swing motions, incorrect application of methods, and a misunderstanding of how the golf swing works could be your issue. However, it is not that simple. By the end of the video, I hope to steer you to a new direction armed with knowledge of how to make your golf swing lifespan increase by adopting some changes. If you do enjoy this video or get some education out of it, please help support us by commenting, liking, sharing, or even, if you dare, subscribe to us. The goal of this channel is to steer you away from fads and tips and push you to the education of cause and effect and understanding every swing is unique and no two swings are alike. We also donate funding from this channel to the Hood Foundation in South Africa for low-income children, so your support is appreciated. Enough of the bushwhacking. Get ready for steps to increase the lifespan of your golf swing. Flying Golf Academy members, welcome back, and we have on the screen Charlie Wee on the right side and Min Woo Lee on the left side. Now, if you wanted to see a full swing diagnosis of Min Woo Lee, I did a video yesterday and the link is in the description below, so go check that out. And there were a few comments down in that video that asked what type of swing changes can one make to prevent lower back injuries. So the first thing that popped in my mind is stack and tilt. Now, there has been some debate over whether stack and tilt helps lower back injuries or hurts lower back injuries. In my opinion, some of the things that stack and tilt promotes can definitely assist in lower back prevention. Now keep in mind, I would not suggest making any of these changes unless you work with a professional that can help analyze your range of motions, but this is just for educational purposes again and to help recognize some simple setup changes and motions that can assist you in preventing back injuries. So stack and tilt gained popularity in the mid 2000s, although some have argued that since the invention of steel shafts that the golf swing moved into a stack and tilt motion naturally. But this swing method involves keeping more weight forward on the lead foot throughout the swing, leading to a more centered pivot point demonstrated by that small little purple line here. With stack and tilt, the golfer keeps more weight forward on the lead foot, and this contrasts with the traditional golf swing where the weight shifts from the lead foot to the trail foot during the backswing. It also has a centered pivot, which means less lateral movement away from the target, and this centered pivot helps promote consistency and helps to minimize side-to-side sway, which is one of those things that can start to play havoc with the back. One other benefit is the stack and tilt method emphasizes keeping the hands and arms closer to the body during the backswing, leading to a more compact and connected swing. And the ball position for most shots is more forward in the stance, which encourages a steeper angle of attack and a slightly higher ball flight. Now, what can that do for your lower back? We're going to move slowly in the backswing here and go to the top. Now, most notably, we see the amount of rotation of the hips that Charlie Wee on the right side establishes, where Min Woo Lee on the left side, we can see that they are both still on their spine angle. However, Min Woo has moved his whole upper body trunk over that spine angle, where Charlie Wee is staying more centered because he is more upright. So we can see the weight of Charlie Wee on the right side is about 60 to 70% on this lead foot, where the weight for Min Woo is clearly behind that golf ball. And if we draw a purple line from the golf ball up to the sky, we can see how much weighting one plays with the other. And if you notice the center point for Charlie Wee, his spine angle is right over that center point, where the center point for Min Woo Lee on the left side is clearly away from the golf ball. Now, there's two different ways to return to impact with the traditional motion from this point of view. Number one is they can start to move left back over to that ball position with their upper body and their lower body at the same time, and then turn and tilt. Number two is what I see most amateurs trying to do now to get that extreme distance, is they almost separate their body into two. So the lower part of the body starts to turn while the upper part of the body drops that club in and delays that turn. Now the problem with that is the lower back, as we learned yesterday, does not rotate as much as the upper back. So that's going to start putting pressure on the lower lumbar region. So if we zoom a little bit forward, we can see how much the hips have opened up and the shoulders are still close to the target. With Charlie Wee swing, we can see right at that same position, we see the hips and the shoulders opening up at a constant rate, so the hips aren't as open as Min Woo on the left side and the shoulders aren't as closed as Min Woo on the left side. What can help this is that ball position. I see that ball position is still connected to his body. Now with stack and tilt, you are going to have a little bit more body weight over the golf ball at impact, where Min Woo, as he gets down to release that golf ball, we can see the axis tilting. Where we go down to impact on the right side of the screen, we can see there is less shoulder tilting. Hands are still out in front of the chest, chest, and he's pressing. Now if we go a couple more frames, we can see how much more of a tilt that Minwoo has to establish to keep those shoulders to work under, to stay connected, have that full follow through. And remember, he is uncoiling so much that his shoulders have to go under to help him keep his hands on the correct hand path, or else he would rope hook the golf ball if his shoulders were higher. Now let me back up so where the club is parallel to the ground here. Let me go forward with Charlie Wee to where the club is parallel with the ground. And we can see some similarities as how high that club is in relation to their body. However, what we see that is very different is the amount of tilting that has been established. So let me clean up these lines. So I've cleaned up these lines, and what we can see is when the club is at parallel. So on the left side of the screen, we see Minwoo really tilting that right shoulder under. The right side of the screen, there is less tilting going on, and it's evidence of how far away the hands are from the body. So here we see the arms are not as far away from the body, and as we continue with Minwoo on the left side, we can see how long and how much excess tilt he has versus the right side. When he comes out of his posture, there is much less tilting going on and more turning. Now keep in mind, it's not necessarily the hips that we're worried about, but it's the shoulders keeping up with the turn around the lower part. So I've cleaned up all the lines just so we can see this without those interruptions. So again, what we're going to look at is the amount of hip turn that is established here. And it's hard to tell. Let's back it up one frame. So we see the hip tilting and the shoulder tilting. They're kind of working against each other. Where if we back it up to the same position here, we can see the shoulder tilting and the hip tilting are relatively square to each other. And this is what I was expressing yesterday about the upper body keeping up with the lower body. Tilting can do some damage, but mostly the rotation. So if you see that left side of the screen, look at the amount of rotation and tilting that the lower body has, and the upper body's working against that. Now that's going to put a lot of pressure on that lower lumbar region, where the one on the right side is going to be less pressure. Now if we take a look at how we get down into impact, we can see the right side, look at the whole body turning in unison together, not really increasing the tilt. We see a slight increase of tilting, and the hips have a slight increase of tilting as well. So at least the tilting is universal and they work together while the whole body is still turning and opening up past impact. Where the one on the left side, if we see at impact, we still see the hips have not changed much tilting, but the shoulders have to tilt a significant amount more. Let's go right before impact there, and we can see there's the shoulder tilt, and the hips are still about the same tilting. So clearly the lower body here on the left side of the screen is outracing the upper body, and that is where the injuries occur. Now post-impact, as you'll see, a big difference too. Once we take this a couple frames post-impact, you see how the upper body had to do a lot of whipping around to catch up, and you can see it here where the whole lower body's already been exploded through and the upper body's doing its job to catch up. So again, that's that rotation of the lower body outracing the upper body. Now, if we take a look at the release from this point of view, look at how the whole body is turning together, and that's going to help with that separation of the turn and the tilt with the lower body and the upper body. I'm not saying that this is the cure, this is the idea that you want to try and establish. The biggest change is not necessarily the swing, it's the setup. So some of the things I want to get across to you is the setup and ball position means the world to you. You'll notice that the longer drivers usually hit the golf ball up in front of their leg foot. Some go further out, some even further than that, because they're really trying to accentuate the lower body turning out the way and the upper body tilting under. That's a big concern for lower back issues unless you have the lifestyle to stretch, to work out, to take care of your body like they do. These are professional athletes, so they have a whole team working with them. For Joe Smith that only plays once in a while, there's no reason why you should try and swing like the guy on the left. You almost want to start to emulate the guy on the right. Now, in terms of ball positions, you are looking for a ball position that is going to be more inside that left foot. And what that'll do is it'll bring your ball position closer to your center without you having to tilt so much at impact. And this is also important because it starts to promote a little bit more of your hands and arms. And why is that important? Because at impact, we can see that in order to strike that golf ball, the hands and arms have to engage a little bit sooner, so we don't have to accentuate the body to strike that golf ball. But as you get that golf ball out in front of you and you start to turn, now all of a sudden to hit that golf ball, you cannot release that club correctly, so you have to learn to hold off the release for as long as you can. But by doing that, you have to engage your upper body to tilt under to get those hands out in front. So these are two completely different ways to swing a golf club, but don't do either one unless you're working with a PGA coach or LPGA coach, because they can really help you. Make sure they diagnose you and your body mechanics to see if this works for you. So if that didn't help you, hopefully this will make a little bit more sense to you. We've got two gentlemen on the screen that suffered from notorious lower back issues. We have Freddie Couples on the right side and Retief Goosen on the left side. I'll try and show you why they have lower back issues. To relieve some of that pressure based on your ball position, we can see both ball positions. Look how far out they are compared to the left foot. So this one's almost out in front of his left foot, and this one as well is slightly out in front of his left foot. Now when that happens, we have to engage more tilting, and that tilting is what prevents the shoulders from turning to keep up with the motion with the lower body. And when the lower body's out racing, that's where that separation of degrees that we don't want in our lower back occurs, because they have to absorb some of that turn. So let's take a look. If we get down to impact, we can see this frame here, and one more, we go to that frame there. So we can see both hips are starting to open to the target, and both shoulders are closed to the target. Now that's where the injuries occur. It's not at impact, it's not post-impact, it's that move right there. Okay, we're gonna try our best here to get these tilts. So we see the left is turning, we see the left hip is turning, we see the right shoulder is tilting and not turning. We see the right shoulder is not turning, it's tilting. So if you start to look at some angles that separate, now no, this is eyeballing it and it's not exactly what it is, but if you take a look at the hips where they are opening up and the shoulders where they're going, you're going to increase this separation here. Now you don't want to increase that too much unless you are Gumby and you can get away with it. So that increase of that separation is what is killing the lower back, because the upper back, which is designed to turn, is not turning, it's tilting. So guess who takes over the role of turning? The lower back, which is not designed to turn as much as it's designed to support and hold your upper body so you can bend forward and back. That's what the lower back should be doing. Now when you have this much of separation, every once in a while you can get away with it, but if this is how your swing is all the time, that is where the problem is. Bring that golf ball position back, stand a little bit taller, engage your hands and arms slightly. You're not a tour player, you play once every couple of weeks. Get realistic with yourself. Make sure you're taking lessons with somebody. Get on a workout regimen, get on a stretching regimen. That should definitely help you see some alleviation in the lower back. You want to feel like the shoulders and the hips are turning the same amount. Even though they're not, you want to feel like your whole body is turning together. So go see a golf coach. Go get a workout regimen, and I hope that helps you. Hope that answers some more questions, but if not, let me know in the comments below, and thank you so much for your support, and I will see you next time. Fairways and greens.